Hey everybody, it's Sophie and Marco. Hey, we're still doing Alfred Hitchcock Week. We are reviewing movie number 4, and it's called The Man Who Knew Too Much, which premiered in 1956, and it's a remake of another Man Who Knew Too Much that was also done by Alfred Hitchcock in 1934. This one starred Jimmy Stewart as Dr. McKenna, Doris Day as Joe McKenna, Christopher Olsen as Hank McKenna, Brenda DeBonzi as Lucy Drayton, Bernard Miles as Edward Drayton, Daniel Gillan as Louis Bernard, and Reggie Nalder as Rian, the hitman. The McKenna family from Indianapolis, Indiana, recently attended a medical convention in Paris and are now in Morocco, heading to Marrakesh on a bus from Casablanca. Hank, their son, decides to get up and walk down the center aisle. The bus driver jerkily slams on the brakes and Hank stumbles, pulling off the veil of a Muslim woman sitting next to her husband. He angrily jumps up and starts yelling at Hank in Arabic. Although we can't understand him, it looks like Hank is still clutching the veil and is too scared to give it back. He follows the scared kid all the way to the back of the bus where his parents are sitting. A well-dressed Frenchman named Louis Bernard intervenes on their behalf, and everything returns to normal. So, why is this incident important? In substance, it's irrelevant, but sets the tone for the strange incident and not so obvious weirdness that is to come. Louis Bernard becomes their fellow expat friend. Dr. McKenna tells him where they're from and what he does for a living. Bernard suggests a nice hotel where they can stay, and why don't they get together and have dinner tonight? Due to their son's urging, the McKennas decide to take a horse-drawn carriage to the hotel, while Bernard is off talking to that Muslim husband as if they'd known each other for years. Joe McKenna notices it and finds it odd. She also questions why her husband told Bernard everything about them, but he told them practically nothing about himself. The McKennas arrive at the hotel where Jo becomes uneasy when she sees a man and woman staring at them. That evening, Bernard is in the McKenna's hotel room while Mr. and Mrs. McKenna are getting ready for dinner. Jo and Hank sing a duet of Que Sera, Sera,
oh no,
the song
please don't.
that won an Oscar for and won the Best Picture Oscar for the movie, not Best Song Oscar, for the movie.
Most annoying song of all time.
Later on in life, it would become Day's signature song. While a hotel sitter will watch Hank for them while they're at dinner, he is also going to have a room service meal. From then on, all kinds of weirdness happens. Bernard gets a telephone call. He can't join them for dinner. A weird man knocks at their hotel room door, mistakenly thinking it's someone else's room. And the only levity in the movie, Dr. and Mrs. McKenna go to dinner and have to sit at a low table with small chairs that sit close to the ground. The couple who had been staring at them are seated behind them. They are the Draytons from England, who are doing some kind of service work in Morocco. Mrs. Drayton recognizes Jo as a famous singer who had sung at the London Palladium a few years ago. That's why they were staring, she says. As they sit together, Dr. McKenna, who is tall and lanky, had been sitting uncomfortably in his chair and now has to deal with eating dinner local style, which is taking food from one big dish in the center of the table with no plates or silverware. Then there is bread you have to pull apart, and everything is to be eaten only using the right hand. as in other parts of Africa and who knows where else, it is taboo to eat with your left hand. Of course, Dr. McKenna acts befuddled at the awkwardness of only using one hand to eat and sitting so low to the table. While they attempt to eat dinner, Bernard walks in with a woman. He avoids them, and the McKennas act miffed about it. Dr. McKenna wants to go over and ask him what is his problem, but they let it go. The Draytons invite them to visit the marketplace the next day. Originally, the McKennas were supposed to go with Bernard, but he seems to have dropped out of the picture. The next day is when the intrigue and the mystery begins at the marketplace, which is a hodgepodge of activity where hundreds of people are buying and selling. Amongst the shoppers are acrobats performing tricks in the middle of it. What happens next will dictate the course of the rest of the movie.
And now you're done spoiling
Marco,
the movie, right?
Take it away.
Oh, thank God, because people who watch this review, they won't even watch the first 20 minutes because they already heard the first 20 minutes from you. Okay. When I watched this movie, I had a good time for the most part. It was kind of confusing in some aspects, and I did not like Doris Day very much, and I did not like that stupid, annoying song that won the Oscar for God knows what reason why that song won the Oscar. The best part of the movie was the opera scene and then the comedy scene in the restaurant. The rest of the movie is very spotty and inconsistent. What do you think, Sophie? Huh? Are you
About Doris Day or?
about the movie?
I thought it was very light. I thought the story was very light, and I thought there were a lot of plot holes, and it seems like, I don't know, the editing was kind of odd. I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just that it just seems so light, and it just seems like there could be a lot more to it, and it just seems like it was.
Another thing is it's a remake. It's a remake of
the same movie.
The same movie. He already made it, and here's the thing: is that here's why it's so inconsistent. The scriptwriter was not allowed to watch the original movie or read the original movie script. He had to write the movie based on Hitchcock's description, which is not a very trustworthy thing. I mean, I know he's a master filmmaker, but when you're writing a script, it's a lot different than directing the movie. So I do not think that was a good idea to do that. I don't like the villains. I didn't like the ending. I thought the ending was queer, and it didn't seem like a good conclusion to the story. I mean, you remember the ending?
Yep. It was
stupid.
It was just kind of blah. I don't know.
Effortless, kind of.
I don't know. It just was. I don't know. I didn't like it.
I mean, I jokingly thought that would happen. Like, wouldn't it be funny if they came back hours later and had to explain to their friends everything or something, but I didn't think that was actually going to happen. It's not a spoiler because it has nothing to do with the plot. It's just they arrive back to their friends, and it's very queer, and the villains have no motivation whatsoever.
Well, they have motivation.
No,
we just don't know it. I mean, really, you hear at the end what a little bit about what it could be, but not really, not much. And I don't know. I don't want to give it away, but it's
Why?
not good.
The villains are nothing. They're like cardboard.
Yeah, they really are. Well, you can't say all of them. See, it's not just one villain.
It's
a group.
The wife is fine because she
had the most dramatic and
she
full
has
part.
a little bit of a change towards the end, and then the husband is boring as hell. The assassin. The assassin is
weird looking.
Is peculiar, and that's cool because in spy movies or in thrillers, you like it when you have villains that look really peculiar.
He kind of reminds me of a James Bond villain.
Yeah.
In fact, he would have been perfect in a James Bond movie. Maybe he was in one. I don't know. I didn't look, but he's perfect for that kind of movie.
And then the girl with the glasses, another one, very boring. And then the fat guy.
She doesn't even have very big part. I don't even know if she's given credit in the movie for, like, when you read about the movie and who's in the cast. Who's on the cast. I don't know if she's even given credit.
I don't know.
But I mean, she has a very small part.
Very small, but
she's
it's
weird
really
looking too. Actually.
It's really weird because he focuses in on her when she.
And we're not being critical by saying they're weird looking. It's just the weirdness gives a support to the fact that they're evil. So they have this odd look about them, which gives them kind of a scarier.
It's that they don't have anything to them. They don't have any sort of.
There's no depth to it.
Depth of character, which is surprising.
It's mainly how they look.
Yeah.
Really, that gives them any kind of. And their action, which is not much, really. But it's good enough, but it's not anything else. It's just one thing, They each do like one thing. They have one thing that they're meant to do.
They all play a part with each other.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Oh yeah, we never talked about the wild goose chase part of the middle of the movie. Basically, the waste of time middle of the movie. Spoiler alert. The middle of the movie takes a very this movie is very inconsistent. So it takes a weird turn where he goes to Ambrose Chapel, and it's this weird taxidermy place, and it's very peculiar. What is this? What is going on in there? Why are they so evil, or like intent on going after him, and just I don't know. Doesn't that part of the movie stick out? Like why is that there?
Well, it's just, and it's odd. It's almost like that. See, he's told to go to Ambrose Chapel. Well, he thinks it's a person, so they go see somebody named Ambrose Chapel. He does, and he's a taxidermist, like Marco said. But it's very eerie and weird, and everybody who's working there just maybe it's just because they're associating taxidermists with people who are weird.
Like, Psycho.
But I was thinking of Psycho too, like Anthony Perkins is a person who does taxidermy in Psycho. He has a room or an office full of dead stuffed animals. So maybe that was just to add some kind of atmosphere. But you thought he was in the right place because they were so odd acting, and they were trying to hold him down, and you called the cops because he thought it said Ambrose Chapel, and the guy's name was Ambrose Chapel. So
yeah, they acted really shitty towards him for no reason. They could have just said, no, you don't have the right person. Get out of here. But instead, they're like, "Oh, we're calling the police, you piece of crap. We're gonna hold you down, and I mean, it was really weird.
I know he had
Very
to.
weird.
He barely escaped them, and he ran away, and then you don't hear or see from them ever again. But
That's another thing with this movie.
It's
is
really
that,
like a red herring, basically, to
well,
do there.
it was a bad red herring, to be honest. Here's another thing: is that he goes through this whole adventure. He goes to battle with all these bad guys, and he never has a gun. You notice
Right.
that?
Yeah. Well, how could he? He's a tourist, and he can't bring a gun with him. So unless he got one somehow, there's no way he would have one. So
I was expecting I was expecting a lot more of this from this movie. I was expecting for him to have to get a gun and have to kill multiple people. Like there would be a whole army of, or not an army, but like a group of bad guys that he would have to defeat. I don't know. It was just very. I don't know how to describe it. It's plain.
yeah.
It's not anything special besides the opera scene, and then the scene in the restaurant where it's a comedy, for like a couple of minutes. Want to talk about that restaurant scene now?
Well, I just wanted to say, I think Stewart, even though it was a very light movie, I think he gave a very good performance, the best one of anybody in the movie. Because at first he acts like this naive tourist, and that made no sense to me because he told the guy, the French guy, that he had served in the military for 3 years in Casablanca during World War II. So, I mean, 3 years of being in that same country, he would know their customs. And so then he goes to the restaurant and he acts befuddled and you're laughing because he can't sit down. He's very tall and lanky, and his knees are sticking up, and he's uncomfortable. And then you want to tell him what happens with the food. Remember, I said that you can only eat.
Well, he's being
food
forced to eat the food with
right.
the one right hand,
the right hand.
the three fingers, and
I don't know what that was about.
and he's like, I'm sick of this, and so all he was eating too. He just wanted to eat this one leg. I mean,
like
he's barely eating
or
anything,
lamb leg.
and so he pulls the leg apart like viciously, like. I mean, that's the most passion he exudes throughout the whole movie is when he pulls the leg apart. And then the waiter looks at him and waves his finger. And
like telling him, no, you can't do that.
And so he gives him a mean look, and then he takes both pieces and shoves them back down on the plate. And, and the two... And the married couple's just sitting there like, well, this is a very awkward situation. I mean, that's the best moment of the whole movie.
That was the only levity in the movie.
It was the most fun part of the movie.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's after that when they go through this negative experience in the marketplace and come back to the hotel and it gets even worse, his character changes. It gets stronger, and the befuddledness that he exhibited the first part of the movie, it's all gone. He's now strong, sure of himself, and calm. And Doris Day, at the beginning, she was just the opposite. She was the strong one. She was aware of her surroundings. She was suspicious, and not overly suspicious, but she didn't want to reveal everything about them to that stranger they had just met. And she was suspicious. The guy never would tell him what he did, not really, and nothing. He told him almost nothing about himself. And then after she goes through this experience, which is terrible, she turns into a big pile of melted butter.
Oh,
so
God.
their characters like change.
Sophie.
Well,
she's a pile of melted butter now?
Well, in the hotel, before he tells her some horrible news, he's a doctor and he gives her this sedative, and it's not just something to calm you, it's something to like knock you out. And she just slumps over like a pile of melted butter. And there was this little thing in the article on the internet. I don't know if it was Wikipedia.
And Jimmy Stewart knew she was going to do that too. He knew that she was going to freak out.
Oh,
Don't you remember?
Oh, yeah, I know. He knew she would
Come
probably
on.
freak out, so that's why he gave her that high dose of sedative. But she said something like Alfred Hitchcock never gave her any direction in the movie on what to do. And so she asked him, why don't you ever give me any direction? And she said because he told her she did it perfectly. And he didn't need to give
Which
her
is
any
interesting
direction.
because you think about all these other female characters who he's had to give direction to. And so isn't that kind of strange that this is somebody who, I mean, he didn't give her like any direction?
That's what she said.
It's very peculiar. Just like this whole movie. This whole movie is very peculiar. I don't think we should have watched it. I think we should have watched the original.
You were the one who suggested, and I said something about the original, but that's okay.
I wanted to watch Peter Lorre.
Well, we will both watch the original because I would like to see. I would like to make my own comparison. I have read that the original is better because it's a better story, and the one that we just saw is that's why we just both said it's lighter. So anyway, I wanted to say too about the movie. This is the London Symphony Orchestra and the Covent Garden Opera Chorus with soloist Barbara Howitt is the people who perform this huge piece of music. And in the movie, it's very beautiful, and it's the first time that performance, along with Doris Day's Oscar-winning songs, "Que Sera, Sera," actually the plot of the movie revolved around both of those performances. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie that was so intricately combined with the plot. In other words, if they hadn't had those two performances, the plot wouldn't have been really bad. It wouldn't have even worked. So they were integral pieces of the plot. And I guess it's another thing. I guess the only other two movies were I was thinking of where music played an important part, but not as a part of the plot, but is to introduce a character, a monster, and that would be like in Psycho.
Jaws.
And when Perkins stabs the female lead to death, accompanied by a violin, and Jaws, which Margaret just said, where the orchestra introduces the shark, which is a very iconic piece of heavy orchestral music. So, but it's the first time. That is an interesting thing, I think, mixing those two kinds of performances with the plot. So,
and speaking of Psycho, since we're not going to review it, do you think I should reveal how I first watched it? It was it might have been my first Hitchcock movie, my first or second, and I picked up the VHS. The VHS did not have any cover on it. All it had was the word Psycho. And so I really wanted to watch it because I thought that it looked very strange and just very interesting and weird. And Safi said, and I quote, "Oh, Marco, you won't like this movie. It's about this woman who steals a bunch of money and then gets killed in a motel." I swear, that's what Safi said. She said, "I won't tell you who killed her, but I will tell you she gets killed. That's what happens in the movie." Do you remember that,
I
Sophie?
think so, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you do that? The whole fun of the
Because
movie
Marco
is
was
that
very young, and I just wanted to warn him so he wouldn't be like, wow. But he didn't care.
I would have liked it even better.
I don't think it bothered him.
Because I had already watched like Halloween, so like if I had been able to watch Halloween, why would you be trying to warn me about Psycho?
Well, because she was in the shower, and that's a little bit. Well, of course, in Halloween there were some scenes where it just seems a very vulnerable place to get killed. That's all.
Well, I had already had something happen in the shower. There was a spider web in the old shower in the ceiling, on the ceiling, and it was just sitting there in its web, and I was washing my hair, and I looked up at it, and it started moving a little bit, and then it jumped into my hair
Yeah.
for no effing reason. So that is even worse than the Psycho murder scene.
Yeah, that's if you're afraid of spiders, which I don't think Marco cares for spiders much.
So back to this movie. I just wanted to tell that story because we're not reviewing Psycho.
Now, we picked movies that people don't usually watch. People don't usually watch the Rope movie. I don't think it's as well known. And,
a lot of people, all they say about it is, oh, it did 10-minute takes. They don't even talk about the movie at all. They just say, oh, it did 10-minute long takes. Isn't that cool?
What's that got to do with that?
It doesn't. It actually... Okay, so do you want to review the movie, Sophie?
Okay, well, I'll give the movie a plate of sugar cookies.
What do they represent?
To represent Doris Day's song.
Ooh.
With a chocolate truffle in the middle of it that represents the orchestral piece. The movie is very light, like I said, with numerous plot holes, but the fact that the music played such an important role in the story, combined with Jimmy Stewart's performance, made the movie more palatable than it would have been otherwise. That's my review. And also, we've been playing Alfred Hitchcock Bingo, and I guess close-ups of the face, there were not too many.
There were hardly any at all.
There was one big one, and that was with Mrs. Drayton when she came face to face with Mr. and Mrs. McKenna, and she was like shocked out of her mind. She had a great face for that. And he and Jimmy Stewart had the befuddled face. I don't think I've seen a befuddled face on him before. It's mainly the fried face.
When he did the food thing,
yeah,
he slams the food down. That was... I wish the whole movie had taken place in Morocco.
And they did location work in Morocco and in London for the movie. So they were actually there. It wasn't all pretend footage or anything. They were really there doing the movie. And then there's also the thing with clue objects, which, like in Rope, remember, it was the rope, and in Lifeboat, it was the compass, and in this one, it's
the symbols.
It's the symbols, big time. The symbols meaning the musical instrument.
Not symbolism symbols.
Yeah, it's the musical instrument. And the camera movement, there isn't a lot of it. You know, there's a few focusing, zeroing in on objects.
You're forgetting about the shot of where Doris and Jimmy are on the phone, and when they're talking on the phone, the camera slowly moves up above them, and it's just like a little above their heads, which I don't know why he did that. I guess he just wanted to look at some more of Doris's hair or something, her blonde hair.
I don't remember that.
You don't?
No.
That's... Oh, God, Sophie.
There's also a clue of the zeroing in of the gun barrel, which comes out of the curtain ever so slowly. You don't see anybody. You just see a barrel of a gun. And it just slowly comes out, and then the camera fixates on it. And then, of course, the music, which you can't say that about. Well, we did not include, like Marco said, a Psycho. Music would be more of would have been something I already said, but for this movie, music was definitely a bingo word. So, okay, Marco, why don't you say what you rate it?
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to rate Hitchcock movies more than any other type of movies because they're all very unique. None of them feel like they're the same, which is a problem with a lot of movies nowadays. They all feel like everybody's copying each other, and there's nothing original. Thoroughbreds was good. I'm thinking about what it can represent.
Well, just to, if you're saying that about movies being the same, he did do another movie later on. What we were talking about, that one I said it was a lot like. It was kind of similar to this one.
Family Plot.
Yeah, the Family Plot, which is
I
it might have been
seen
his last one.
That was his last movie. A lot of people don't like it. They say it's boring. I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
Well, it's a little bit like this movie. So if you've seen that.
Doesn't have Jimmy Stewart in it though, so.
No, not at all.
That makes a big difference.
It does have a blonde in it though.
Oh. Sophie. Which blonde was that? Was
wait a
it
minute, she might have.
one of the
I'm trying to
big
remember.
ones?
Maybe she had dark hair. I'm trying to remember because I think she has a sister, and one has dark hair and one has blonde hair. In real life, I can't. Karen Black, I think her name is. And anyway, of course, I forgot to say one of the bingo words is a blonde actress, and that's Doris Day, of course. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now I'm gonna get to review it.
Well, you didn't know what you were how you were going to review
I
it.
still don't know. It's very tough because the movie's very plain.
Well, maybe you could save it for the next movie.
No way, Jose. I'm gonna rate this movie. Sophie's gonna have a very befuddled look on her face after she hears.
We could give it a piece of cheese pizza because it's so.
Hey, stop trying to influence my reviews. You're trying to write my review for me. Okay. God, still, it's been. Ugh. Even Vertigo is easier to rate than this. Ugh. Okay, and this is another one where I'm not going to explain what any of it means, and the invisible people that write invisible comments can go in the comment section and try to figure it out. So, I give this movie a bagel, a toasted bagel with cream cheese, and then a side of a toasted bagel with cream cheese, with the side of a toasted bagel with cream cheese with a side of ham, a slice of ham, and maple syrup on the ham, and the ham is not hot, it's warm, and a glass of chocolate milk. That's what I give this movie. To repeat myself, a toasted bagel with cream cheese, with a slice of ham that's warm, with maple syrup on it, and a glass of chocolate milk.
Wow, weird.
Yeah. Do you
And
have
of
a
course-
befuddled look?
Well, that's just part of the weirdness that's in the movie.
What do you have to say about that?
Like I said, it's weird.
Do you think you could try to figure it out what it means?
Well, obviously that song is the syrup.
Nope.
Okay, well I don't know that. Because it's really a sappy song. And I guess it's just it's a positive kind of song that whatever will be, which that's what que sera, sera means. And it's almost like if no matter what's going on, you just you try to deal with it at the best way you can. That's kind of the way I took it, because a situation happens in the movie and they have to deal with it the best way they can. So it's
So?
kind of sugary, and it's one of those songs that sticks in your head.
Well, you just watched a nice, plain, sugary movie to get off of what was Rope and Lifeboat and Vertigo. And so you're going to go from a plain sugar movie to Frenzy and have fun with that.
Yeah, it's our last movie is Frenzy, and it's about a serial killer.
And Safi has seen the movie before.
I've seen all the movies before.
But there was something that she did not like about it, and
I didn't care for that part, and it left an ugly feeling inside. And
well, hopefully she gets that feeling again, so she can.
It is a serial killer.
Rate this
serial
movie.
killers are not beautiful people; they're ugly. They kill and kill and kill. So it's just my problem. It's nobody else's problem. But anyway, that's our last one, so we'll be back. We'll see you later.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
I can't wait to read the invisible comments trying to analyze my review.